Toots, welcome to Business and Politics. Thank you for making time.
Hey, Klink, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. I regret that we weren't able to play golf over the holidays. You know, injury reasons. But anyway,
it's okay.
I know
you can always play golf anytime.
I'm thankful that you made the time today because the previous week we had Doris Ferrer talking about education, and of course related to that.
Yeah.
This is issue that we've been hearing about for a long time now, which is the learning poverty experienced by Filipino learners, which the World Bank alerted us to. But of course, this is not new, right? The problems in education have been around for a while. And one of the recommendations that we've been hearing is to encourage our young children to read. What's the issue? I mean, this is not a new solution that we've been hearing to this problem, but from your perspective, you know, having worked in the industry for a long time, what are your personal views and observations? What is the problem?
Okay, well, it's like you said, it's an age-old concern ever since. I mean, when we started, even in our generation or even the generation before us, the thing is, our schools actually need to teach the love for reading.
Okay.
I mean, at a very basic level, because that's where it all starts. That's where it all begins. I mean, of course, it's good that, you can teach them the sciences, you can teach them mathematics and all the other stuff. But at the very core of this will be the love of learning and the love of reading. I think these two can be interchanged, no? And, well, as they always say, back to the basics, man.
Right.
I mean, the way to instill love for reading, love for learning is, you expose the children at a very young age to all of these really nice and interesting reading materials. I mean, of course, big picture books and, big letters and fun stuff. And when their interest is picked, then they start, and it's an enjoyable thing for them, even among their peers and among the parents and the teachers. It becomes a very enjoyable activity to the point that, they'd be actually looking forward to reading. And that's the whole objective of learning, right? For you to be curious enough, for you to enjoy and ask questions and find out things and discover new things. That at the very core is I think what we all want our children to have.
As you said, it's a simple thing. It sounds simple, and yet the implications are quite serious because, and you may want to validate this because I've read somewhere that it can affect your not only your performance in school, but perhaps also your success in your career after school, and maybe it can affect your ability to earn a desirable income. Is that true, or have you heard something similar?
Well, obviously, evidence points out that the most well-read people, they're generally more interesting. They're more, they can carry good conversations and they can relate better with people. And I think those are the basic soft qualities, that you need when you grow up as an adult to be more productive, to be more, to be able to relate well with other people. And it helps a lot. Of course, it's not a surefire thing.
Sure.
Obviously, but it does help a lot. Being well-read is a very big plus, as it were, in your development as a person.
I've heard some educators say, I mean, as you know, I have a young daughter, and as a parent, you probably have encountered this too. I'm a little bit bothered by some educators asking me, how do we get the young kids to read, given they have access now to gadgets and and from that maybe the internet that are so alluring, right? How do we make reading fun or attractive to young people? I mean, from a business standpoint, I suppose, from a general business standpoint.
Right. Okay, that's very true. in fact, we can't escape it. You know, we can't escape this new technologies. They're very accessible. You know, I mean, everywhere you go, you have gadgets, you have access, it's ubiquitous, right?
Right.
Now, but that's where the intervention, I think, of the elders, no, of the educators, of the parents. That's where it comes in.
Okay.
And it's very, very important. You know, I mean, in the past, that you know, I had the chance to promote e-learning.
Okay.
Okay, that was part of my advocacy before, to utilize the use of new technologies to further, to further the learning process. It's going to be helpful for teachers and students, but there's this very big but, you know. We were always prescribing that the intervention for education technologies start at a later age.
Okay.
Okay, at around maybe at the earliest, maybe at the 4th grade.
Okay. All right.
Right, because
so start with books.
Start with the technology.
I see.
So basically, what we're saying is, you know, at the very young age, you know, preschool, you know, I mean, toddlers and stuff like that, know as much as possible, no technologies first, no gadgets, no tablets, no nothing.
Okay.
Inundate them, you know, expose them to books, make them love reading, because you cannot replace the love for learning. And then when they're big enough and they're mature enough, then of course you can slowly introduce them to the reality, which is, you know, you can't naman keep your head, you know, under the sand and say, you know, technology is not happening. The real world has, you know, it's all about technology now.
Right,
so, but again, we go back to the main concept of saying, you know, don't start them out really young, because they're, you know, I mean, we all know this. The mind of a child is like a sponge.
Okay.
And you know, it absorbs anything very, very quickly.
Okay.
So, you know, if they start them out right, you know, with books and stuff like that, then that's what they absorb first, right?
Okay.
And then when they're big enough, they can make better decisions. At the time, you introduce them to you know, all of these things, so tablets and gadgets and stuff like that, and the internet maybe.
Right. Yeah. You know, that reminds me of a question I've heard last year from one of the budget hearings at the Senate. Senator Gatchalian was asking, in general terms, what is the future of books? And you just mentioned e-learning. Yeah. Right. Is there a future for the old print and paper books, or are we going to see that disappear now in favor of you know, something you read from a gadget or maybe from software? What are your observations on the trends? Well,
you know what, these warning signs have been bandied about since 10, even 15 years ago. You know, the advent of the tablets, you know, and you know, you have all of these reading gadgets like, you know, Amazon's Kindle and whatnot, right? So the whole world was saying, okay, this is the death knell, the death knell for the printed page.
Right.
But up to now, printed books still outsell the digital versions. What does that tell us? It tells us that there is a market for actual printed books.
Right. Is that true for all categories of books? Because I've read somewhere that I think it was UK, that children's books were the one that were bringing in the, you know, the ones that were bringing in the sales for the publishing industry. And I suppose that makes sense, right? Because if you have young children, you know, looking at my own child, they like to write on their books, they like to you know, play with it, toss it around. I mean, I would be horrified if they did that, you know, if a child did that with my tablet or with my cell phone, right? So better with, you know, with paper. But is that something that, you know, is it true for certain kinds of books and less for others, you think?
Well, I don't have figures with me right now. All I know is that the printed books are doing very well. Okay. It has you know, I mean, defied the dire projections, no, that were hoisted upon it from way back.
Yeah.
So when they said, okay, the e-books are here, out with the printed ones, but it didn't happen. It's still, you know, the printed books are doing good at this moment.
Right.
Although, having said that, the share of printed and e-books, they're kind of, you know, almost there.
Okay.
Okay. There's a real market for e-books. I mean, I read e-books.
Right.
Okay.
I can't read e-books. I mean, I read physical books. I read books on audio. I just can't seem to get myself to read the books on tablet.
Yeah, what I do read are, like, you know, summaries.
Okay.
No, but when I want to do a deep dive into something, I really get the printed book.
Now we have to take a quick break, but maybe a quick answer before we go. Would you agree or disagree with the observation that the Filipino culture is not a reading culture?
I will tend to disagree with that.
I think I tend to agree with that as well. We'll be right back with Mr. Policarpio. This is Business and Politics. Please stay tuned.